Ladies and gentlemen, let us explore a question as old as time itself. Why is it often challenging for men and women to sustain purely platonic friendships? To understand this dynamic, we must go beyond surface level explanations and dive deep into the realms of biology, psychology, and energy. Our understanding of human relationships is deeply rooted in evolutionary biology. To unravel why it can be challenging for men and women to maintain purely platonic friendships, we must first examine the fundamental principles of survival and reproduction that shape the human brain over millions of years. These principles are not merely relics of our past, they continue to subtly influence our behavior, often in ways we don't consciously realize. From an evolutionary perspective, the survival of our species depended on two primary objectives: securing resources and ensuring reproduction. In this context, relationships between men and women historically revolved around these two imperatives. Men often took on roles associated with hunting, protection, and resource acquisition, while women were key to nurturing offspring and managing social bonds within groups. These roles created complementary dynamics that were essential for the survival of early human communities. Over time, these dynamics became deeply embedded in the architecture of our brains, influencing how men and women interact with one another even today. The human brain, particularly the limbic system, is finely tuned to detect opportunities for reproduction and connection. This system governs much of our emotional and instinctual behavior, including the subtle cues we pick up during interactions with others. For example, a smile, prolonged eye contact, or even a shared laugh can trigger the release of dopamine and oxytocin, chemicals associated with pleasure and bonding. While these reactions are natural and essential for forming social bonds, they can sometimes blur the lines between platonic and romantic intentions. Moreover, the evolutionary drive to seek out potential mates has left its mark on how men and women perceive each other. Research suggests that men are more likely to interpret friendly behavior from women as signs of romantic or sexual interest. This tendency may stem from an evolutionary bias designed to maximize reproductive opportunities. Women, on the other hand, might prioritize emotional connection and security in their interactions, which can lead to differing interpretations of the same social cues. These mismatched perceptions can create tension or confusion, even in friendships where both parties intend to keep the relationship platonic. Another layer of complexity arises from the interplay between our conscious and unconscious minds. While we may consciously view a friendship as purely platonic, our unconscious mind, shaped by millions of years of evolutionary pressures, may operate with a different agenda. This is not to say that every interaction between men and women is driven by romantic or reproductive instincts, but rather that these instincts exist as a backdrop, subtly influencing how we relate to one another. Understanding this evolutionary framework is crucial for navigating male-female friendships. It allows us to recognize the underlying forces at play without being dominated by them. By bringing these unconscious dynamics into our conscious awareness, we gain the ability to act with greater intention and clarity. Instead of being swept along by instincts rooted in our distant past, we can choose to build relationships based on mutual respect, understanding, and shared values. This awareness is the first step toward transcending the limitations imposed by our evolutionary heritage. The dynamic between men and women is deeply influenced by the chemistry of the human body. Every interaction triggers a cascade of biochemical reactions, which can significantly affect how we perceive and experience relationships. To understand why it can be challenging for men and women to maintain purely platonic friendships, we must explore how hormones and neurotransmitters shape our emotional and physical responses during these interactions. When men and women interact, the brain releases a cocktail of chemicals that influence bonding, attraction, and connection. Oxytocin, often referred to as the bonding hormone, plays a pivotal role in creating feelings of closeness and trust. It is released during moments of physical touch, deep conversations, or shared emotional experiences. While oxytocin fosters connection, it can also create a sense of intimacy that might be misinterpreted as romantic or sexual interest, even in a platonic context. Dopamine, another key player, is the brain's reward chemical. It is associated with pleasure and motivation and is released during enjoyable interactions, such as engaging conversations or shared laughter. The dopamine surge reinforces positive feelings toward the other person, creating a sense of joy and excitement in their company. However, this pleasurable association can sometimes blur the boundaries of friendship, leading one or both individuals to question whether their feelings extend beyond platonic affection. Testosterone and estrogen also play significant roles in male-female dynamics. Testosterone, more prevalent in men, is linked to drive and attraction, while estrogen, more prominent in women, influences nurturing and emotional attunement. These hormones can subtly affect how men and women perceive each other, even in non-romantic settings. For example, men might experience an unconscious increase in attention or attraction due to hormonal responses, while women might feel a heightened emotional connection, depending on the context of the interaction. Another important factor is the interplay between these chemical responses and the brain's reward system. When the brain associates someone with positive feelings due to oxytocin, dopamine, or other neurochemicals, it creates a feedback loop that encourages further interaction. This loop can strengthen the bond, but also make it challenging to distinguish between platonic and romantic feelings, especially if the interactions are frequent or emotionally intense. It's essential to recognize that these biochemical reactions are not inherently good or bad, they are simply part of being human. However, when we are unaware of how our body's chemistry influences our emotions and perceptions, we might misinterpret the nature of our relationships. A kind gesture or a moment of shared vulnerability might feel more significant than it is, not because of the action itself, but because of the chemical responses it triggers within us. By understanding the role of chemistry in our interactions, we can approach male-female friendships with greater self-awareness. Recognizing that our feelings may be influenced by hormonal and neurotransmitter activity allows us to consciously reflect on our intentions and boundaries. This awareness enables us to nurture authentic platonic relationships while respecting the natural, yet sometimes misleading signals our bodies send us. The way society conditions us from an early age significantly shapes how we perceive relationships between men and women. Social norms, cultural narratives, and media portrayals collectively influence our understanding of what male-female interactions should look like, often complicating the possibility of purely platonic friendships. To fully grasp this dynamic, we must examine how social conditioning molds our expectations and behaviors in these relationships. From childhood, we are inundated with messages about gender roles and relationships. Boys are often encouraged to be assertive, strong, and goal-oriented, while girls are taught to be nurturing, empathetic, and relationship-focused. These stereotypes create subconscious expectations about how men and women interact, framing their relationships in ways that often emphasize romance or partnership over friendship. Media, in particular, plays a powerful role in shaping these perceptions. Movies, television shows, and books frequently depict male-female friendships as stepping stones to romantic relationships. The will they, won't they trope is a recurring theme in countless stories, reinforcing the idea that men and women cannot simply be friends without romantic or sexual tension eventually arising. Even when friendships are initially presented as platonic, they are often portrayed as temporary states, inevitably leading to deeper romantic involvement. This consistent messaging subtly influences how we view and approach cross-gender friendships in our own lives. Cultural norms also play a significant role. In many societies, male-female relationships outside of family or romantic contexts are viewed with suspicion or skepticism. People may question the motives behind such friendships, assuming hidden romantic or sexual intentions even when none exist. This external judgment can create pressure and discomfort, making it harder for men and women to maintain purely platonic bonds. Additionally, social conditioning often encourages men and women to seek validation and connection through romantic relationships. This focus can lead to a tendency to misinterpret platonic gestures as signs of romantic interest. For example, a man may interpret a woman's kindness or attentiveness as flirtation, while a woman might see a man's protective or supportive behavior as a signal of deeper feelings. These misinterpretations are not solely the result of individual biases, but are often rooted in the cultural scripts we've internalized. Another layer of complexity arises from societal expectations regarding emotional vulnerability. Men are frequently discouraged from expressing emotions openly, except within the context of romantic relationships. Women, on the other hand, are often socialized to prioritize emotional connection, but may hesitate to engage in deep vulnerability with male friends for fear of crossing perceived boundaries. These constraints limit the depth and authenticity of male-female friendships, reinforcing the idea that emotional intimacy between men and women is inherently romantic or inappropriate. By recognizing the impact of social conditioning, we can begin to challenge these limiting narratives. Awareness of how cultural norms and media portrayals shape our perceptions allows us to approach male-female friendships with greater clarity and intention. We can consciously reject the stereotypes that confine us and embrace the possibility of genuine platonic connections based on mutual respect, shared interests, and trust. In doing so, we create space for more authentic and fulfilling relationships that transcend societal expectations. The way men and women perceive relationships is often shaped by biological tendencies, individual experiences, and cultural influences. These differing perceptions can lead to misunderstandings and create challenges in sustaining purely platonic friendships. To understand this dynamic, it's important to examine how perception varies between genders and how these differences impact male-female interactions. Research has shown that men and women often interpret the same social cues in fundamentally different ways. For example, studies suggest that men are more likely to misinterpret friendly gestures or casual interactions from women as signs of romantic or sexual interest. This tendency stems in part from evolutionary psychology. Historically, men who were more attuned to potential mating opportunities may have had a reproductive advantage, a trait that is carried forward as a subtle bias in interpreting interactions. On the other hand, a woman sharing her vulnerabilities with a male friend may inadvertently create a sense of protectiveness or emotional investment in him, which could be misread as romantic interest. This dynamic is not a reflection of anyone's intentions, but rather the way emotional sharing is often intertwined with deeper connections in our minds. Another layer of complexity arises from the fear of crossing boundaries. Men and women might hold back from being fully open with each other to avoid creating discomfort or misunderstanding. For instance, a man might hesitate to share his fears or insecurities with a female friend, worried that it could make him appear weak or cause her to view him differently. Similarly, a woman might avoid discussing deeply personal matters with a male friend, fearing it might spark feelings that complicate their relationship. These barriers to emotional vulnerability can prevent male-female friendships from reaching their full potential. Without the willingness to be open and authentic, the friendship may remain superficial, lacking the depth and trust that define true connections. To navigate this challenge, it's essential to cultivate clear communication and mutual respect. Both individuals must recognize that emotional sharing is a natural part of any meaningful relationship and does not necessarily imply romantic or sexual interest. Establishing boundaries and openly discussing the nature of the friendship can help both parties feel more secure in being vulnerable without fear of misinterpretation. Ultimately, emotional vulnerability is a powerful tool for building connection, but it requires a foundation of trust, self-awareness, and clear boundaries. When men and women approach their friendships with these elements in place, they can foster meaningful, platonic relationships that are as fulfilling as they are enriching. At the heart of every human interaction lies energy, the unseen force that influences how we connect with others. In male-female friendships, this energy often takes on a unique dynamic shaped by individual experiences, beliefs, and the natural interplay between masculine and feminine energies. Understanding the role of attraction, not just in a physical or romantic sense, but as an energetic phenomenon, helps explain why platonic friendships between men and women can sometimes feel complicated. Every person emits a unique energetic frequency influenced by their thoughts, emotions, and intentions. When two people interact, their energies either resonate harmoniously or create subtle tension. This resonance is often what draws people to each other in the first place, forming the foundation of friendships, partnerships, and even romantic relationships. In male-female dynamics, these energetic exchanges can sometimes lead to a magnetic pull that complicates the boundaries of platonic connection. The concepts of masculine and feminine energy provide further insight into this dynamic. These energies are not tied to gender but are archetypal forces present in all individuals. Masculine energy is often associated with drive, focus, and protection, while feminine energy embodies creativity, nurturing, and emotional depth. In friendships between men and women, these energies naturally interact, often complementing one another. However, this interplay can also spark feelings of attraction as the energies seek balance and harmony. Attraction in this context doesn't always manifest as romantic or physical. It can be intellectual, emotional, or even spiritual. For example, a woman might feel drawn to a male friend's calm, protective nature, while he might admire her emotional depth and creativity. These feelings of admiration and connection are natural, but can sometimes blur the lines between friendship and deeper intimacy if not consciously managed. The challenge arises when this energetic attraction is misinterpreted. A warm, engaging conversation or a shared moment of vulnerability can create a powerful energetic exchange, leaving one or both individuals wondering if there is something more to the relationship. This confusion often stems from societal conditioning, which tends to equate strong energetic connections between men and women with romantic or sexual interest. Moreover, personal intentions and unresolved emotions can amplify the energy in a male-female friendship. For instance, if one person enters the friendship with unspoken feelings or hidden expectations, their energy may subtly influence the dynamic, creating tension or confusion for the other. Recognizing and addressing these underlying intentions is essential to maintaining a healthy platonic bond. To navigate this energetic complexity, self-awareness is key. Both individuals must be attuned to their own emotions, intentions, and boundaries. Clear communication about the nature of the relationship can help prevent misunderstandings and ensure that both parties are aligned in their expectations. Additionally, maintaining a sense of balance by nurturing other friendships, focusing on personal growth, and respecting boundaries can help manage the natural energetic interplay without allowing it to overtake the friendship. When approached with awareness and intentionality, the energy in male-female friendships can be a source of growth and inspiration. By respecting the power of attraction in all its forms and consciously aligning with the principles of trust and mutual respect, men and women can build friendships that are both enriching and truly platonic.